Stop explaining yourself to people who already decided to misunderstand you. Look at me. Everybody doesn't deserve a reaction. Everybody doesn't deserve access. And everybody definitely doesn't deserve a seat at your table in 2026. Some battles are won not by shouting, but by walking away in silence. Because the loudest move you'll ever make is when you don't react at all. Now listen, there are people in your life who feed off your response. They poke you, provoke you, press your buttons, not because they're strong, but because they're starving for your attention. And every time you react, you pay them with your peace. But 2026 is not the year of emotional donations. This is the year you cut them off quietly. No announcement, no paragraph-long explanation, no dramatic exit. Because when God is elevating you, He will first teach you how to master silence. Touch your neighbor and say, I'm done reacting. Reaction is permission, whether you realize it or not. Every time you respond emotionally, instantly, impulsively, you are handing someone the keys to your inner world. You are telling them, you have access to me, you can reach me, you can move me. And some people don't come to you for conversation, they come for control. They study your reactions because reactions reveal your weak spots. They learn your triggers, your tone, your timing, and once they learn it, they know exactly how to pull you out of your peace whenever they want. When you react, you don't just answer a situation, you empower it. You take something that might have died in silence and breathe life into it with your response. Arguments grow because someone keeps feeding them. Drama survives because someone keeps reacting to it. Offense multiplies because someone keeps responding to it. What could have ended quickly turns into a long emotional war simply because you gave it attention. Reaction is agreement to play a game you never signed up for. Some people provoke you not because they are confident, but because they are insecure. They need proof that they still matter to you. They need confirmation that they can still interrupt your focus, your joy, your direction. And when you react, when you explain, defend, or justify, you give them exactly what they came for. You confirm their relevance. You validate their influence. You reassure them that they still live rent-free in your mind. Silence, on the other hand, confuses people who came for control. When there is no reaction, there is no reward. When there is no emotional response, there is nothing to manipulate. Silence shuts down access without a fight. It doesn't argue. It doesn't compete. It simply withdraws permission. And when permission is removed, power shifts instantly. You don't have to overpower people when you can outgrow them. Reactions often come from a need to be understood, but maturity understands this truth. Not everyone is capable of understanding you, and not everyone deserves the explanation. When you react, you lower yourself to a frequency where noise lives. Silence keeps you operating at a higher level where clarity, focus, and authority exist. You don't owe your emotions to anyone who misuses them. Every time you choose not to react, you are retraining people how to treat you. You are teaching them that access to your emotions is limited, guarded, and earned. You are drawing boundaries without announcing them. And boundaries that don't argue are the hardest to break. Reaction says, you got to me. Silence says, you don't have that power anymore. And in a season of growth, elevation, and purpose, that difference changes everything. Not everyone deserves an explanation, and that truth becomes clearer the moment you stop trying to rescue people from their own conclusions. Some minds are already made up, not because of facts, but because of feelings, jealousy, insecurity, or pride. When you explain yourself to those people, you are not communicating, you are negotiating with resistance. You are pouring clarity into a container that refuses to hold it. Explanations are powerful, but only when the listener is willing to understand. When someone is committed to misunderstanding you, your words become wasted breath. They will twist what you say, selectively hear what benefits them, and ignore what challenges their narrative. The more you explain, the more material you give them to distort. Silence protects you from becoming your own evidence in someone else's false story. There is also a hidden exhaustion that comes from over-explaining. It drains your confidence because you start believing you owe people access to your motives, your decisions, and your growth. you begin to feel guilty for evolving. You start shrinking your truth to make others comfortable. And without realizing it, you place yourself on trial for a life you are fully allowed to live. Closure is often misunderstood. Many people think closure comes from a final conversation, a perfect explanation, or mutual agreement. But real closure comes from clarity within yourself. It comes from deciding that you do not need permission to move on. Some relationships do not end with understanding, they end with acceptance. And acceptance does not require a dialogue, it requires resolve. When you stop explaining, you reclaim authority over your own narrative. You stop performing for approval. You stop defending decisions that were never up for debate. You begin to move with quiet confidence, knowing that people who truly matter will understand you without demanding constant clarification. And those who don't understand were never meant to walk with you into your next season anyway. Explaining yourself to the wrong people also delays your progress. While you are busy justifying your boundaries, others are moving forward. While you are revisiting old conversations, your future is waiting. Growth requires motion, and motion slows when you keep turning back to convince people who are comfortable where they are. Silence is not avoidance, it is discernment. It is recognizing when words will build and when they will only burn energy. It is choosing peace over proving a point. And there is a strength in letting people believe whatever they choose while you continue to live in truth. Your life will eventually explain itself better than any sentence ever could. When you understand that not everyone deserves an explanation, you stop bleeding for people who refuse to heal. You stop casting pearls where they are trampled. And you learn this final freedom. You don't need to be understood to be aligned. And you don't need agreement to move forward. Silence is not weakness, it is discipline, and discipline always looks quiet before it looks powerful. Weakness reacts on impulse, driven by emotion, ego, and the need to be seen. Discipline pauses. Discipline listens. Discipline chooses timing over impulse. When you remain silent, you are not surrendering your power. You are gathering it. You are deciding that your emotions will not lead you, your purpose will. Most people mistake loudness for strength because noise is easy. Anybody can raise their voice. Anybody can fire back a message. Anybody can defend themselves when pride is touched. But it takes strength to sit with discomfort, to absorb misunderstanding without rushing to correct it, and to trust that truth does not need to shout to survive. Silence demands self-control, and self-control is one of the highest forms of power. When you speak too quickly, you often reveal more than you should. Your plans, your wounds, your fears, your next move, all of it can leak out in emotional moments. Silence protects your strategy. It gives you time to think clearly instead of emotionally. It keeps you from saying something that satisfies the moment but damages the future. Discipline understands that some words, once released, can never be taken back. Silence also allows you to see people clearly. When you stop talking, you start observing, you notice patterns, you hear what people say when they think you are not responding. You learn who respects you and who only respected your reactions. Weakness needs constant validation. Discipline is comfortable with observation. And in that quiet space, discernment sharpens. There is a difference between being silent and being silenced. Being silenced is forced. Silence is chosen. Chosen silence is an act of authority. It says, I am in control of myself. It refuses to let chaos dictate behavior. It refuses to let provocation set the agenda. It is not passive, it is intentional. Discipline also understands timing. Some conversations are not meant for now. Some responses are not meant for today. Silence buys you time, and time brings perspective. What feels urgent in the moment often looks insignificant later. The disciplined person allows emotions to settle before decisions are made. That pause can save relationships, reputations, and opportunities. People who lack discipline fear silence because it removes their ability to manipulate the moment. They want immediate reactions because reactions are predictable. Silence disrupts their control. It forces them to sit with uncertainty. That is why silence often feels like strength to those watching and frustration to those provoking. In the end, silence trains you to respond rather than react. Reaction is emotional, response is intentional. One is driven by impulse, the other by wisdom. Discipline lives in that gap between stimulus and response. And the longer you master that gap, the more unshakable you become. Silence is not the absence of power, it is power under control. Energy is currency, and whether you realize it or not, you are spending it every single day. Every conversation, every argument, every explanation, every emotional reaction costs you something. The problem is not that you have energy. The problem is that you keep spending it on people and situations that give you no return. You invest passion where there is no purpose, attention where there is no appreciation, and emotion where there is no growth. Just like money, energy is limited. You don't wake up with an endless supply of focus, patience, or emotional strength. When you waste it early in the day on nonsense, you have nothing left for what actually matters. That's why some people feel tired even when they haven't done anything physical. They've been emotionally drained by conversations that went nowhere and conflicts that changed nothing. Some people approach you like expenses, not investments. They withdraw from you constantly, but never deposit anything back. They take your peace, your time, your joy, and your clarity, and then leave you empty. And the dangerous part is that they rarely force you to give it. You volunteer it through reaction, engagement, and over-availability. Every time you entertain negativity, you approve the transaction. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it is stewardship. You are responsible for managing what you've been given. When you protect your energy, you are choosing long-term strength over short-term satisfaction. You are deciding that winning an argument is not worth losing your clarity. You are realizing that being right is not as important as being whole. When you stop overspending your energy, you start seeing where it truly belongs. You begin to reserve it for your goals, your growth, your calling, and the people who actually pour back into you. You become more intentional with your time and more selective with your attention. And as a result, your life becomes quieter but more powerful. People who benefit from draining you will resist this shift. They are used to free access. They are used to instant responses and emotional availability. When that access is restricted, they call it distance, coldness, or pride. But in reality, it is maturity. You didn't change. You just stopped bleeding for people who refuse to heal. Energy well spent multiplies. Energy wasted disappears. When you invest in yourself, in your peace, and in your purpose, it returns as clarity, momentum, and confidence. But when you give it away carelessly, it leaves you exhausted and unfocused. Once you understand that energy is currency, you stop trying to be everywhere for everyone all the time. You realize that your peace is too expensive to be handed out casually. And in that realization, you gain a new level of authority over your life because you are no longer broke in the areas that matter most. Access is earned, not owed. And the moment you forget that, you begin to live as if everyone has the same level of entitlement to your life. They don't. Proximity does not equal permission, and history does not guarantee future access. Just because someone knew an earlier version of you does not mean they automatically qualify for the next version you are becoming. Too many people confuse familiarity with authority. They assume that because they were there before, they can speak into your present and dictate your future. They feel entitled to your time, your emotions, your explanations, and your availability. But growth changes requirements. As you evolve, the standards for access must evolve with you. What was acceptable in one season can become damaging in another. When access is not guarded, it becomes abused. People who do not respect your boundaries will take your openness as an invitation to overstep. They will speak without wisdom, demand without consideration, and criticize without contribution. And if you allow it, they will disrupt your peace while contributing nothing to your progress. Not everyone who has a voice in your life has earned the right to use it. Earning access requires alignment. It requires respect, consistency, and intention. People who deserve closeness honor your growth instead of resenting it. They protect your peace instead of provoking your reactions. They celebrate your elevation instead of competing with it. Access should be given to those who help you become better, not those who keep pulling you backward. One of the hardest lessons in maturity is learning to restrict access without guilt. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to explain why certain doors are no longer open. Silence and distance often do the work that arguments never could. When someone no longer has access to you, they lose the ability to disrupt you. Some people will accuse you of changing when you enforce boundaries. They will say you are distant, cold, or different, and they are right. You are different. You are wiser. You are more aware of what your life requires to thrive. Change is not betrayal, it is development, and development demands discernment. Giving everyone equal access cheapens your life. It places people who drain you on the same level as people who build you. It allows noise to sit next to purpose. But when you understand that access is earned, you begin to curate your environment intentionally. You choose who gets to hear your dreams, who gets to see your vulnerable moments, and who gets to walk with you into your next chapter. When access is limited, peace increases, focus sharpens, progress accelerates, and the people who truly belong in your life will not fight your boundaries, they will respect them. Because people who value you don't demand access, they honor it. God often does his deepest work in the quiet, far away from noise, arguments, and the need to be seen. While people are busy trying to prove a point, God is positioning outcomes. Silence creates space for divine movement because it removes distraction, ego, and emotional chaos. When you stop talking, stop defending, and stop reacting, you make room for God to act in ways you could never orchestrate yourself. Many people delay God's work in their lives by insisting on having the last word. They feel the need to explain, correct, or confront every misunderstanding. But there are moments when God says, stand still and see, not speak and be seen. Silence becomes an act of trust. It says, I believe God can handle what I don't need to control. And trust is the language God responds to most powerfully. When you remain quiet, you allow God to fight battles you were never meant to engage in. Some conflicts are distractions disguised as assignments. They look urgent, but they are not important. They pull you into emotional exhaustion while God is calling you into elevation. Silence separates you from unnecessary warfare and keeps you aligned with purpose instead of provocation. God also uses silence to refine character. In quiet moments, pride is confronted, patience is developed, and wisdom is sharpened. You learn to listen instead of react. You learn to discern instead of defend. And through that discipline, you become stronger internally, not just louder externally. God is less interested in how fast you respond and more interested in how well you respond. There are seasons when God instructs you to let results speak instead of words. Growth, consistency, and fruit carry more authority than arguments ever could. When God is working behind the scenes, public explanations are unnecessary. Your life becomes the evidence. Your peace becomes the proof. Your progress becomes the answer. Silence also protects the process. Not everything God is doing in you needs to be discussed, debated, or disclosed. Some transformations require privacy to mature properly. When you talk too soon, you expose what is still forming to opinions that cannot nurture it. God often hides his greatest works until they are ready to be revealed. Those who trust God's timing don't rush to defend themselves. They understand that vindication does not come from shouting the truth, but from living it. God has a way of revealing motives, exposing deception, and aligning justice without you lifting a finger. What you don't say today, God often answers tomorrow. In the end, silence becomes worship. It is surrender without spectacle. It is faith without noise. And when you learn to be quiet while God is moving, you discover that the stillness you once feared becomes the very place where miracles begin. Hear me now. If you carry every offense, you will never carry your purpose. If you answer every voice, you will never hear God's direction. Some doors don't close because you keep knocking. Some chains don't break because you keep explaining, and some people don't leave because you keep reacting. But tonight that ends. In 2026, you will not fight for attention. You will walk in authority. You will not argue your worth. You will demonstrate it. You will not announce your exit. You will elevate beyond their reach. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them wonder why they can't reach you anymore. because silence didn't make you smaller. It made you untouchable. And when they look for the old you, tell them nothing because God already said everything.